speaking of more fun, we've got a new product here that you need to discuss. I don't even know, like, how do you pronounce the name of it? Is it Happy or I?
Yeah, it's happy with a P sign as the V because we couldn't buy happy. So my wife and I met at Burning Man. We're into very unpopular music. We stopped doing drugs about when we got married because people started dying from fentanyl. And one day, one of our favorite producers died, and my wife is like, "We need to do something about this." I'm like,
Yeah,
"The fuck can I do? I've been in tech forever." And my wife, she's a fashion designer that at the time she was designing costumes for shows on the Las Vegas Strip. So she did a lot for the people that own Absinthe. I think she does a costume for Cirque, but like definitely not in the consumer packaged goods space. Um, so I'm like, yeah, what are we gonna do? And then a couple weeks later, I woke up and she was particularly excited to just shove her phone in my face, which she never does. And she said, "You need to read this article." And this article said that this plant from South Africa gave that individual person a feeling like they were on MDMA and it was legal. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe we should buy some. I didn't even think to do anything with it. And we went hiking with my buddy and his wife, and he's actually a partner in the company now. And he happened to have some that day. And my wife took it. I was driving, so I'm like, MDMA, I'm not gonna
yeah.
take it. And she really enjoyed it. So we bought some and we took it on vacation. And we what we found with the stuff that we bought, it was more like it was supposed to be gummies, but it was more like a bullion cube than a gummy. And you'd eat like four or five of them to get high. So you're just chomp, chomp,
Yeah.
chomp. It wasn't good. And coming from tech, I was like, oh, we'll be in stores in 2 months. We're gonna do better. So that was a multi-year journey in most of my net worth
Oh,
to
wow.
get
So
to where we are now.
you're really
Oh
in
yeah,
on
I'm
you're
in.
all in.
Well,
Wow.
it's a purpose. Like I 2 months ago, a couple of people that my wife knew bought liquid ketamine from Mexico. And when you get liquid, it should be pretty safe. You have to bake it, I think, and then snort it.
Mhm.
All six of them died. There was fentanyl
Oh,
in it.
wow.
Like fentanyl
That's
is
horrible.
really there's 2.5 times more people died in the United States from fentanyl last year than the people who had died in Palestine when I checked this number.
Oh, wow.
So it was
Ooh.
like 40,000 people in Palestine and 100,000 people in the US.
And these are destitute, just like people whose lives are just destroyed. I was a heroin, like I was an oxy addict. I was a fentanyl addict for a long time, and this stuff destroys you. Like when I got hurt,
They're putting in fucking weed now.
I know when I got hurt, like I was 5 years clean off of the opioids, and right away in the hospital, they're fentanyl patches. You know, I was 150 micrograms of fentanyl patches from day one. My
Yeah.
doctor was blown away. He was like, honestly, the amount of drugs we've given you today would kill a horse.
Yep. So we started the company and I thought we'd just like make something, get in the stores real quick. But the plant, I guess I'll tap back on the plant. The plant was first documented by the Dutch in the 1650s, and the indigenous people in South Africa take it, and they believe that it's a mood stabilizer. So they introduce it to their children through breastfeeding,
Oh,
and then they're really good at killing big animals with small arrows. So they'll shoot a big animal and they'll have to track it for days. So they would chew on it to suppress their appetite and suppress their thirst. But it's also a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So when they get to the animal, they dump serotonin. They have almost a spiritual connection with their food, which is something I really haven't had.
yeah.
But they also use it in dance ceremony. And again, it's a SRI. So when you dance and you release serotonin, you feel a psychoactive effect. So we started making a product. What we recently found out is probably 80-90% of the active ingredient is wasted because your body doesn't hold on to it.
Mm.
So the best way to ingest it is through sublingual, which we just launched a product. When it was introduced to us, we snorted it as you do with most powders.
Yeah.
And it took about 20 minutes to set in, and it was really, really intense and overwhelming. And then we couldn't find insurance that would let us market and sell it as something that you snort. So we started just saying like wink, wink, put it under your tongue.
Yeah.
And then we actually tried it on our tongue and it was so great. It was probably so we went to a concert at Red Rocks this weekend, and my wife's friend is a savage. She could put, you know how people do lines, she could
Yeah.
do chapters.
Oh, nice.
And
Hell yeah.
we,
Hell yeah.
we gave her some,
That's my kind of party.
yeah, we gave her some sublingually. We had a great time at the concert, took a little more in the Uber on the way back. Then when we got back to the room, we all just fell asleep. Then we all woke up at 8 in the morning. We felt great.
That's
And it's
awesome.
just like almost like a life hack. Now that I'm in my, I guess, late 40s now at 46, I'm not trying to do something that keeps me up all night, makes me grind my teeth, and then I feel like shit the next
Yeah.
day. And I've done, quite a bit of this through the R&D process. And I think we found through the powder the best form factor so far and just doing it sublingually. So now we sell chews, which again gets waste.
Yeah.
A bunch of it gets wasted when you eat it. We made these things that we call hydration packs, which are similar to liquid IV, except they give you a boost with it.
Nice.
And then we have pills, we call them happy pills. And that's more of like a day to day mood stabilizer, put you in a good mood, which none of those have been widely. I did this and I felt this because it's just all very different for different people. But now that we have the powder, Jesus Christ, it's just
That's so
w-
cool, man. Like I
yeah,
I take ketamine every night. When my doctor first suggested ketamine, because I'm always searching, for something to get rid of the phantom limb pain. The phantom limb pain's just gnarly. And my doctor suggested ketamine, and I had been on ketamine in the burn unit, and it was not a good time. Like I was on fentanyl, I was on ketamine. They had me tied down. One night I was like just tripping fucking balls. My face was itching like crazy, and my nurse was just being a cunt. So like I it was just one of the worst nights of my life. So when they
yeah,
suggested ketamine, I was like, not really. I don't know about that. And they were like, look, we're giving you a little bit, and like it's not going to do the same thing. So they gave me a powder pill. I put it under my tongue before I go to bed. And within a couple days, the pain had dropped significantly and I started feeling better. Like
yeah,
it's hard to really describe, but just like better, more present, more clear. And it feels like it just really cleared me out. And I mean, this stuff's still hard to get for normal people. Like somebody like me, I have a little bit of a better chance to get something like that because I'm so
yeah,
fucked up. But like a normal person who's just going through it, like I remember reading something a while back, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they were essentially saying that they did this scientific study and there was no proof that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance. And I've always kind of felt that like most depression that people deal with is situational, not so
yeah.
much like a chemical. Like me, I'm depressed because I'm hurt. Like it's a situation that I'm in. And like I don't necessarily think that it was a chemical imbalance in my brain. I think that it was just hard for me to cope with life the way it is now, and the thought that like you could do that naturally and not have to deal with doctors, with big pharma, with side effects, with any of that shit. Just be able to have some natural fucking thing that can help you in multiple ways. You can have fun too. Like that's great, but I would imagine like based on my experience, what you're telling me, I would imagine you would get the same effect of possible like depression and situational depression. I think that there's probably a decent chance that it's going to help people in more ways than just having fun.
Yeah, so we started this with the mission of we wanted to stop seeing our friends die.
Yeah.
And it's turned into quite a bit more. I can't make any medical claims, but I can give you anecdotal information that we've learned. One of the dudes that he did some graphic design work for us, so we gave him, a bunch of product. His grandmother's been on lithium or something
Mm.
forever, and she cut that intake back by 50%. just by drinking the water. Which I'm not
Wow.
saying that our product cures depression. I don't know. Like we have, our hope is to sell this product that feels a lot like a rave drug,
Yeah.
if you will, make enough money to do the clinical trials and figure it out. So it's a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which is similar to an SSRI in the sense that, well, the difference between an SRI and an SSRI is SRIs exist in nature
Okay.
and people can find them and they can take them. The pharma companies need to patent things. So they selectively choose what part of your serotonin that your brain um, holds on to so that you feel better. And not to get all tinfoil hat, but name a mass shooter in the last 10 years who wasn't on an SSRI.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do believe the I do believe that I there's no drug that I would take from prescribed to me by a doctor unless I was going to die. And I do believe that there are natural alternatives to
Oh,
things. And
I agree.
I think
I think that everything that we need as people exists on this planet in some form or another. We just have to figure out how to utilize it in the right way.
absolutely.